Wake up, I gotta go get it. Wake up, wake up, I gotta.
Welcome back to another wonderful episode of the College Couch Podcast. We hope and pray that you guys are having a great week, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Javaris here alongside Stackz Delbridge, forever in the building, per usual. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, man? What's going on?
How you feeling?
Man, life is good. Can't complain. Life is good. Life is good.
Good. Well, hey, man, we have a lot to get into today. Some more spring games lined up for you guys. But first off, we got to start off with some really breaking news. Reggie Bush, man, getting his Heisman back. I think the big thing about this is I'm excited to see that he may get a chance to finally be in the Heisman House commercials that we see during college football season. So I would love to see how they incorporate him as far as bringing him into the mix with all the other phenomenal Heisman winners. And yeah, man, what a big story that broke. And I think it was only a matter of time, especially with the world of NIL now and how just things are shaking up with that. It was time, honestly.
Yeah, it's about time. Yeah,
Yeah.
the one of the most fun
Mhm.
college players you ever watch. I mean,
Right.
I can come on record and say during his college year, I was a big Reggie Bush fan.
Mhm.
I tried to play like him. I tried to move like him. I almost went to number 5 just because to be like Reggie Bush. So every college game we had back then, I was trying to play as Reggie Bush, man. That definitely deserved, definitely earned, and it's about time they gave that man his Heisman back because he earned it.
100%. I think.
Regardless of the off the field stuff, I mean,
Yeah.
you you do what you gotta do to take care of your family at the end of the day. You can't get mad at anybody for that. If anything, in my opinion, you should have suspended the school if you're gonna do that, not the player.
Yeah.
He didn't come at them with, "Hey, what y'all offer me?" From my gathering is they said, "Look, y'all, you come here, we got you." You know what I'm saying? Like, get mad at the player for wanting to take his family out of a bad situation, whatever. So but finally, I'm glad that we get some treats this year. Reggie Bush getting his Heisman back. We get college football game back. And football season gonna start off, and we're gonna see how it goes.
Absolutely, and I think the teams that we have lined up really have a lot to prove within their season this year. First off, let's kick off with the defending champions of Michigan. The debut of head coach Sharon Moore, who was formerly the OC there. He coached pretty much when Coach Harbaugh was serving his suspension for some things last year. Really great showing from Michigan. Of course, they had quarterback Alex Orji. Ladies and gentlemen, first off, disclaimer, that is that man's name. Let's go ahead and get that out. Do not cancel us. That is that man's name, okay?
And I think he had a good showing. I mean,
absolutely.
I don't think it was much of a drop off from last year. I mean, because you still got a lot of those players back. You got the running back, and I think his last name Edwards.
Yeah, Donovan Edwards.
Yeah, which was the big impact, in the championship game last year. And he kind of like picked up where he left off at in the spring game. I mean, he had some big runs, good plays. I mean, quarterback, Orgy, I think he did very well with commanding the offense. Had a quick touchdown. I think the strength is in their running game, obviously.
Yeah.
With the offensive line being solid like they are, I don't think they have too many problems on the offensive front from what I saw. Like I said, running backs, they doing what they supposed to do. A couple guys showed up in the receiver room that surprised me. I can't think of their name. So many people.
Yeah.
But that wide receiver room in Michigan, I think all across the board, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, how these wide receivers do because it's a lot of them.
Yeah.
I think every school has some legit receivers from what I've seen this year, But Michigan did, I mean, they did pretty good. I mean, of course, some miscues and some cleanup things that they got to do, but that's to be expected in the spring game. So
yeah, I think with Alex, definitely not a lot of passes thrown from. If I'm not mistaken, he threw maybe like 17 passes within the whole spring game. But I really see him being more of an option quarterback this season. I mean, especially with what you just mentioned as far as the running game being really strong at Michigan. and I think Sharon Moore is probably going to focus really closely in on that this season. I mean, we really don't know what his scheme looks like, but just from the spring game, it looks like they're going to definitely be run heavy.
Oh yeah, for sure, for
Yeah,
sure, for
with the
sure. And
talent stuff.
I see that. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, what 3 or 4 plays straight? It was just straight running. I mean,
yeah,
and everything else worked off of that. You know, with the play action and the quick dump offs to the running back and stuff like that. So I mean, it could work. I mean, it worked last year. You know what I'm saying? I think what they got ahead of them, I think they'll be all right. You
mm-hmm.
know, nothing really jumped off the page and at me and was like, yo, this team is gonna be special or
Yeah,
anything. But I just think they picked up from last year. Which was not a small slight because they won a championship last year. So you know, I don't know if they'll be good enough to win it this year or not. I'm not saying that they will. Not saying that they won't. But from what I gather, they're not bad. They're not overly great as right now. But again, this is spring. You know, everybody looks some kind of decent during spring.
mm-hmm.
Because it's against your own team, people you've been practicing with. So you know, we'll see how that goes. But I mean, the game was pretty straightforward. Nothing too crazy. I like to see that the quarterback got up and running fast.
Yeah,
Because I know that was a big question mark for them is who's going to take McCarthy's shoes. Who's going to fill that role, that gap. And he did. And he's playing very good. As far as spring game goes. So
yeah, and I think too with of course, you're definitely seeing a not even the slightest of similarities between quarterback styles with Alex Orji and JJ McCarthy. I mean, McCarthy is more so of your pocket presence quarterback. With Orji, he's not scared to take off out of the
right,
pocket. So
right.
I think that's really going to be fun to watch, as well as if they start incorporating more option runs with Alex and Donovan Edwards. I think it's going to be a special season for Michigan. Hopefully they do well in the Big Ten, but a lot of people are on their heads right now, not only in the Big Ten, but just in the
Yeah,
whole
you
college football world.
you the returning champion, so you
Yeah,
got to defend that title. I mean, whatever,
mm-hmm.
regardless of who wins it, I don't care who you are. Once you win
Yeah,
that championship, it's a target on your back because
mm-hmm.
you the one that got to go through to take. You know what I'm saying? And even more so now because you got the expansion of the playoffs. So now everybody is fighting for position, and now you potentially got Ohio State making it in without being a conference champion, without beating Michigan, and maybe getting that sweet revenge that they always look forward to, but it being in the form of beating them in the playoffs or beating them in the championship or however it trickles down. So I mean, it makes for an interesting storyline. So we'll see. I know the biggest question mark last year was, is it gonna be as exciting with the expansion? Because with the 4 team, everybody was talking, everybody was discussing, like should they have gotten in this, that, and the third. Now I think you're still gonna have that, but you're also gonna be able to see some of your favorite teams possibly compete for a championship. And I honestly don't think you're gonna see too many more undefeated teams. Maybe in conference play, but outside of that, I think playoffs hit. You might not see as many undefeated teams because you got so much more to get through
Mm-hmm.
now to get to the championship. Like you know what I'm saying? You might say it's only 2 or 3 games or whatever, but those 2 or 3 games make a big difference. Big difference in both good and bad. Like it could be the games you need to get players healthy. It could be the game that the other team is clicking on all cylinders. You just never know. So I think with everything that's going on, I think Michigan has a solid chance to compete. Just like last year. So it's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah, and the last point I definitely wanted to make, the defense played a huge role within the spring game. I mean, especially keeping the game as low scoring as it was.
Right.
And they definitely are going to be a force within the Big Ten this year. I mean, causing a lot of disruptions and chaos, which
Right.
is big for the Big Ten. I mean, again, we're not talking about pipsqueaks within the Big Ten. I mean, of course, it's any given Saturday, and
Right.
with that, we could see it showing from Nebraska, and they could just
Yeah,
come out of nowhere and
you
punch
got.
you
I
in the
mean,
mouth.
you got Colorado in there
Yeah,
now. You know, you got Oregon in the mix now. I mean, it's making it more competitive. I
Yeah.
like the fact that you only have in, 3 or 4 conferences or whatever. You know, that way you really get to see, who you get to put it into that talk of which conference is better. But now, you know, Texas is in the SEC, so now you got that, and then you got all the other teams are in the Big Ten, and you know, whoever's left at the end, we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it definitely makes it interesting. Definitely makes it interesting. You know,
Yeah.
so for sure.
I think that's a perfect transition into the next team, which you just mentioned is Texas, dude. That that wideout room. I mean, you pretty much talked
Well,
about the wideouts in Michigan, but this is a stacked wideout room.
it took me a little second to see him because I really wanted to see who would step up.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, obviously they lost a lot of big time receivers from last year. And once they got going, I'm gonna be honest with you. Arch Manning is making a case for being a starting quarterback. What 360 passing yards? Like his first play from scrimmage, throws a touchdown. Like he went to start the day, he went 7 for 7. Like I don't care if it's spring or not. Like that's a good sign. And then this is your backup. Like this is not your starter. And it's the funny thing is your starter was struggling to get the offense going. But as soon as Arch Manning got in the game, it's like night and day.
Yeah,
I mean, I get it. You go with the experience and things like that or whatever. But my opinion, man, Arch gonna put people in the seats off his
yeah,
last name, and then you combat that with stellar quarterback play. I mean, he looked comfortable in that
mm-hmm.
pocket. I mean, he was waiting last second, sitting in the pocket, poised, pocket collapsing around him,
Yeah,
delivering strikes. I mean, placement on the balls is beautiful. Like Texas is gonna be scary as long as you
yeah,
got Arch Manning back there. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. I mean, the running backs look good, but really, like you said, them receivers
mm-hmm.
and along with Arch Manning look really, really good,
Yeah. We
really good.
definitely have to take in consideration that they now have Silas Bowden transfer from Oregon State as well as Isaiah Bond from Alabama. I mean, those are two guys who really took over for their receiver rooms last season for their teams, especially Isaiah Bond. I mean, it was almost like every Saturday you heard his name called in the end zone. So, with guys like that who are big time targets, it's definitely going to be um, a defense coordinator's nightmare.
Right,
When a DB
right,
has to line up against those guys on Saturdays. So, I truly expect a big showing from those guys this year, and I mean granted, it's so funny because, dude, I did not share my notes with you, but that was really going to be my next point. Is just the quarterback battle between Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers, and I
right,
think that Arch definitely showed. Like a lot of people questioned, was he going to transfer? And
right,
I
right,
think with Saturday's show, like, nah, like I genuinely have a case here. Like I can start over Quinn Ewers.
right,
So
right.
I think Coach Steve Sarkisian definitely has a task at hand in selecting, who he wants to be his starting guy. I mean, of course, a lot of people think that Quinn Ewers is going to get the nod by the start of the season, but do not be, um, you know, don't keep Arch Manning off your radar. Like this guy can definitely come
Yeah, I
in out of
mean,
nowhere.
I think they're gonna. I mean, I think they're gonna get a nod to Ewers just off of experience
Yeah,
alone, just because he's battle tested. He's pretty much seen everything that you can throw at him at this point. As far as everybody in the quarterback room. Now, to me, Arch Manning might be the better talent, but also, like I said before, this is just a spring game. This is just against your defense, which is no slight to their defense. Their defense was good. You know, uh, but you're gonna go with experience over somebody that has the potential. You know what I'm saying? Like you're gonna go with somebody that I trust my offense with this guy. I've won games with this guy, lost games with this guy. So they're gonna go with him just because this is the year that he could prove that he's an NFL quarterback. Um, uh, you know, so I think I think he gets the nod, but I don't think he'll be holding on to it. You
yeah,
know, by a wide margin. I think he's holding on to it by a string, and I think that's was Sarkisian. I think that's his whole thing with letting Arch Manning have the reins, for the spring game was to say, hey, let's see what he can do when there's pressure. It's on TV, everything like that. Let's see what he can do. And
Yes.
I mean, he delivered. I mean, in my opinion, if you could actually run, we'll see a lot more flashes from these guys. But he showed it in the pocket, sitting
Yeah.
poised. Taking off when he needed to. Of course, you can't tackle, so you can't tackle the quarterback, so you
Right.
don't really get that look like you would. But it was good to see, in my opinion. It was fun to watch. That was probably one of the most fun ones to watch, in my opinion. Just based
Yeah.
off of pure like quarterback, receiver play, big plays, things like that. You know, um, I'm excited to see them in the SEC.
Right.
Honestly, see
Right.
how it shakes things up, again, that's why I say I don't think it's gonna be a lot more undefeated teams. Just because, think about it. The SEC, now you got Oklahoma, you got Texas, and then Georgia and Bama playing consistently now, a little more consistency now. Auburn trying to figure out their thing. They getting over the hump finally. LSU is in the mix, of course. So I don't think you're gonna have those teams. If you did have those teams, I think it would come from ACC.
Mhm.
You know, um, but I don't think you're gonna have too many undefeated teams because I don't even think I think Michigan possibly could be undefeated, possibly at least going into the playoffs. But that's saying that Colorado is gonna be like last year, and that's saying that Oregon's not gonna live up to the hype it did last year. So with all
Yeah.
that being said, I don't know if it's gonna be too many. I feel like you had a one loss team, possibly two loss teams, but I don't think you're gonna have too many more undefeated teams now. It's just because it's just too much going to it, and they got to play too many people. Like you know, nobody, especially in the SEC now, nobody gets to hide behind having a weak schedule anymore. You can't make that excuse because now you've got Texas, you got Oklahoma. Now you might not have both of them in the same year one year, and you can say that that's an easy schedule. But let's be honest. Okay, yeah, you don't have them, but you still got the other teams that you had to play against before. You know what I'm saying? So it's like with Georgia, they got Bama, and I believe they have Texas too.
Yeah.
So and we got Oklahoma this year. So it's a interesting type of thing, but I think Texas is gonna be all right. I think Texas is gonna be stake their claim this year and compete for those top three spots in the SEC. You know,
Yeah.
so
I think that is a truly fair point. I don't think I've seen a lot, um, really, in just all of the adjustments that are being made with these conferences. There's a lot of excitement built around Texas this year, and with that, it comes a big responsibility from
right,
Steve
right,
Sarkisian and his
that'll be
staff.
for them to that'll be their I think that'll be their biggest thing. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and of course, I do have Texas. You know, I think Texas and Georgia is definitely going to be a game to watch just because
sure,
of the talent that's really being on display there. But we've seen in past years. I really feel like with Texas is almost like Alabama. You just never know what to expect from a Texas or Alabama team. So I really feel like that's going to be the biggest task for Georgia coming up this season, as well as with Alabama as well. But Texas for sure, especially going to Texas to Austin, it's
right,
definitely going to be a huge task for
right,
for Kirby Smart this year. So um, it's hard to say. It's really hard to say. And
right.
of course, you definitely put out there as well with the running backs, C.J. Baxter, Jaden Blue, and Savion Red. That's crazy
Hmm.
how they both have running backs with Blue and Red as their last name. Those guys. I look at those guys as almost like the three-headed monster, and of course with Jonathan Brooks being there last year, he was a huge factor before he got injured.
Right,
So man, they're really looking like a solid team, heading into the
for
SEC
sure,
year.
for sure.
So yeah, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be an issue for sure for the SEC.
For sure, for
Yeah.
sure. I think it's gonna be interesting to see. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think regardless of what you think or anybody thinks, those games you're gonna get the best version of both teams. When Texas plays Georgia, you're gonna get the best of both. It's gonna be like a playoff atmosphere. Because I mean, honestly, at this point, because of how it's shaping up with the West and East not being a thing anymore, every game really matters now. Every game, there's no more. Oh, I got the best record in the West, so I'm going from the West. No, you got to have the best record overall.
Yeah.
Like you know what I'm saying. You got to have the best two records overall. Like it's no. All right, well we took it off with this team. We can bounce back. It's no more of that anymore. It's pretty much just get the business straight out the gate. Use that first game when you play the little small school or whatever. That's when you figure out stuff. By week 4, week 5, you got to have it in motion. Like you know what I'm saying. So, but I think it's gonna accelerate the sport. It's gonna make the sport so much more beautiful because although you got NIL and everything, and people was trying to say that NIL was taking the grit out of college football. Now you're adding all these teams to the conferences. They got something to play for because now you can't take a day off. Before you could take a day off, like with Bama. Bama. I mean, I didn't say that. I'm not saying that they purposefully. It's like okay, we'll let y'all win. But I think you know Texas got the better of them, and then uh, South Alabama almost beat them. And they were still able to bounce back from that. Now I don't think that you you're gonna be able to so easily. Like now it's gonna really come down to okay, how did you play this team? Okay, you didn't play this team, we can't let you in there yet. You really gotta come in and put your best foot forward. So I think it's gonna be great for college football. I'm excited for this season, not even just for my team, just for college football in general.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, just to think that spring games are really good. It's really that opportunity to really get excited about the season approaching, and so I think that's a big thing, especially for this season. I mean, a lot of shaking up has happened, so this is
right.
really going to be a huge season for that. But let's go over to good old Rocky Top as far as Tennessee quarterback Nico Iamaleava. Oh my goodness,
Nah,
Nico
I'm finna
Iamaleava listed at 6'6". This guy is a giant, right? And me and you had the opportunity to watch him in the last bowl game that they played, and we were just sitting there, just pretty much rattling, and just how good he looked, in the bowl game. But um, this guy is definitely going to take over. I.
But
I'm nervous about Tennessee though. I'm really nervous about Tennessee. Like not
like
in a
nervous
good
in
way.
the sense of like they're gonna be scared good, or
No,
nervous in the
like
sense
not
of
in a
I don't
good
know
way.
what.
Like I'm really worried about this. I'm worried.
Well, I think quarterback wise they're good,
Yeah.
but it's so many question marks everywhere else. Like we don't know how the defense is gonna be.
Yeah.
Uh, line of course. We don't know who's gonna be that breakout receiver.
Mhm.
But I will say quarterback play looked really good for
Yeah.
them. I think he played very. I'm not even gonna attempt his name, but we all know who I'm talking about. He looked really good. He looked really calm,
Yeah.
but again, a lot of question marks. Across the board for Tennessee. I think after that big run they had, when they beat Bama and
Mhm.
everything like that, and I think that was their year to go ahead and shut the door, make playoffs and everything like that. Because they had all the players. The defense was enough. Like I tell anybody all the time, okay, yeah, you can have a great defense and that can win you a championship, but if you have a defense that can just get a stop here and there and get stops when it's important, as long as your offense is explosive, you're good. You know, so I mean. And I think that year Tennessee had that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they had the defense that it wasn't like a defense that's gonna shut you down completely. They're just gonna make the stop when they need to.
Yeah.
You know, it's much like the Bama game when Tennessee beat them. You know, they made a stop when they needed to, and Tennessee, you know, they, excuse me, their offense prevailed. So I think this year I don't know. It's a lot of question marks. There's
Yeah.
another one of those teams like I got a lot of questions about. I gotta see. Wait till Saturdays. You know, get rolling to see how they really fare out. You know. Yeah, I mean, and to their defense, I think everybody's like that in the stage of saying, what are they gonna do when you actually line up against a different team? Like, you know, we can say they look like Archman look really good, you know, but again, that's against his team. You know, we don't know when the stadiums get to shaking and how they get to rocking and things aren't going his way, how it's gonna look. Much like Tennessee right now, we don't know. We know the quarterback is good, but we don't know, you know, who's gonna be that person to step up. So I think that's, to me, that's where I'm at with them, is just I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A
Mm.
lot of question marks, and I mean, even um, some of the announcers said when speaking with Coach Josh Heupel, he was like, he's really looking for guys to step up before August. Like it sounds like he's a little indifferent as well about his own team. Like it's just a question mark right now. Like I don't want to take anything away from Tennessee because, I mean, just look at the talent they had last year with Joe Milton and and guys with guys like that. But now those guys are gone, so it's almost like you definitely have a new team now, especially with a new quarterback like Nico. But
Yeah.
I don't want to take anything away from them. Like I think they can, but I'm just not sure.
Yeah. I
So
mean, and conference don't help them out though either, because I mean
exactly. I
it
mean,
got stronger, you know.
it
So
definitely like it's almost like they gained Thanos's the crystals, like it just literally made the conference look like it should be the most dominant conference in all of college football. So
right,
it's
right,
I hate it for them. I really do, but I don't want to take it. I'm indifferent about Tennessee, honestly. I'm really
right,
am.
right. I mean, it's nothing that jumps off the page, nothing that screams like, oh, y'all in trouble. It's just
Hmm.
I don't know. Like it's
Yeah,
just we don't know. Like, you know, I didn't see none of the receivers take a big step that where
hmm,
it's like, oh, they're gonna be dangerous. Cause
yeah,
if you know anything about me, I don't look for one play. I don't look for that. I look for, what are you doing consistently? Like, you know what I'm saying? When you're not getting the ball, what are you doing? Okay. What are your routes looking like? How are you getting open? When you're not open, are you still open? Like, you know what I'm saying? Can you make the adjustments and stuff like that? And I haven't, not to say that some of them didn't or whatever. Just saying, I don't know. I didn't see a whole lot of that yet. I haven't
mm,
seen, you know, like with Texas, I saw a lot of those players step up and, you know, do the things that they're supposed to do. I didn't see that quite with Tennessee, but that's not saying that they're bad. That's not saying that they're in trouble. Just saying I don't know. I can't really give you a good take on what they look like, because it's just like one of them things. Like, we'll see when we lace them up in August. You know, so we'll,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, I think we saw a lot more productivity coming from their backup quarterbacks with Gaston Moore and as well as Jake Merklinger. Those guys look really poised. I mean, like they were super comfortable in the pocket. I truly will say, God forbid, knock on wood, if something were to happen, in that quarterback, depth, they should be straight. Like they really should be good. I mean, just with the way the guys look. But again, to back up your point, this was only the spring game against their
Right,
defense,
right,
right?
right, right. That was gonna be
So
my next thing. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, but man, again, I don't know. Like I don't know. I genuinely
Right.
do
It's
not
not
know.
like one thing I can. If I'm a Tennessee fan, I'm anxious because I
Yeah,
want to really see what they look like. Like, you know,
yeah,
because last year we thought that they were gonna pick up right what they did the year before. You know, it didn't quite get. They ain't quite. They got. they got the string pulled to start the lawnmower, but it ain't quite crank over like they wanted it to.
Yeah.
Had little spurts here and there, but they just haven't been able to get back to that, to that winning mindset. Feel like I want the Tennessee Georgia game to be competitive so bad.
Yeah.
I really want all these old rivalries to get competitive so bad, because Georgia Florida's not competitive anymore. Hasn't been competitive for the last 4 or 5 years, maybe even longer than that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Georgia. I mean, Auburn Bama game is wishy washy, but uh, so is the Georgia Auburn game. We never know. But I just want some of these teams to get back to, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
like if any other game we gonna play our butts off this game.
Yeah.
I mean, you should do that any game, but you playing against your rival, it's like you give whatever you got and then some, and if
Mm-hmm.
you ain't got nothing left, you should be dog tired after the game, cause
Right.
you know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Cause I mean, you got a chance to beat your rival. I wanted to get back to that. And Tennessee, I won't be able to talk about it. It's much like Georgia Tech. Tennessee is in the same boat as Georgia Tech for me. For me,
Okay.
maybe not to the world, but for me, you know.
I just I have a bad feeling we're gonna get a long message from my Aunt Sherry after this episode comes
It's
out.
just, but it's factual. It's
Yeah.
factual because I'm
Yeah.
like, my thing is this. Like, I'm not saying like as far as the wins or anything. Like, I'm saying as far as getting back to that winning, getting back to that funness, getting back to making the rivalry games fun, because we haven't had that from Tennessee or Georgia Tech like we've wanted to. You know, uh, like for me, being somebody from Atlanta, although I'm not a Georgia fan, I would love to see Georgia Tech compete. You know what I'm saying? Like I would love that, especially for the older guys that have been waiting for Georgia Tech to be competitive again.
Yeah.
Because I was around when they was constantly not constantly beating Georgia, but like the game was always competitive. Like you always knew that game. You never knew what you was gonna get. You know what I'm saying? And it hasn't quite been that way. And that's what I wanted to get back to. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that was a fun game to watch. So
Yeah.
to me, they're in that boat in that way, not as
yeah.
far as where the program is at.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know Tennessee is better off at this point than Georgia Tech,
Mhm.
but as far as getting back to competing, I think they're in the same boat with that.
That's fair.
Not
That's
taking
fair.
no shots, not taking no shots.
That's
I'm
fair.
just saying. Yeah.
That is truly fair. And I mean, it just is what it is, So, but yeah, man. Hey, hats off to Tennessee. Hope they make a show for it, come August and really, turn things around and get on the right foot. But let's go over to Norman, Oklahoma. Dude, super adamant to see what Coach Brent Venables has on the field, as far as product goes. Dylan Gabriel transferred over to Oregon in the offseason. So sophomore Jackson Arnold, Atlanta-born guy, but went over to Texas to play for John H. Geyer High School. So, dude, looked really good, like
Right.
really well as a
Now
sophomore.
Oklahoma at, at this point they look really solid
Yeah,
from
yeah,
run game to only thing I think that I saw that they really need to brush up on is the line.
hmm
But I think everybody's having those issues for the most part.
yeah,
Because it's early, still haven't got your time to uh really get conditioned and
mhm,
things like that. It's your first time being full speed like this, so guys get gassed and things like that. But
yeah,
I saw it from Auburn. I saw somewhat at Georgia, not completely, but you know, everybody has some of those struggles that they look to clean up. You know. With the line, but I mean, other than that, I think Oklahoma they surprised me actually.
yeah,
I actually was shocked. Because I'm like, you got your main guy gone and all this, but receivers look good,
mhm.
created separation and everything like that. Did what you that you want to see out your receivers. So I like that. That spring game was one of the more fun ones to watch.
Right, right.
So
It definitely. I'm glad you said that because um, getting back on Jackson, dude literally ripped a 64 yarder within the first 5 minutes of the spring game, which was insane. And to that point, I also want to say it was definitely a lot of offense in this spring game, which almost reminded me a lot of Ole Miss, which is going to be key in the SEC because we see how successful Ole Miss's offense has been in the last few years. You know, under Coach God
Kiffin.
Lane Kiffin, Lane Kiffin. So, yeah, like it's definitely going to be fun to watch Oklahoma this year. Like that's really crazy to think about. Like, I mean, it's still crazy to think that Oklahoma and Texas are in the SEC now, but they're going to have they're going to give a lot of teams problems. You know, if they start off fast like that and are consistent as well as getting down the field, they are going to give a lot of defenses issues.
Now with that, watching them, I thought, is the defense just that bad, or is the quarterback just that good? That was my big question the whole time watching them.
Yeah.
Like when I say the line was their big issue,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't mean that was their only issue. The DBs need to go back, figure out some things. Linebackers. I mean, the defense definitely they should be in the lab as we speak. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because we know SEC, if you ain't got no defense, you ain't got nothing. You know, or at least a defense that can make stops when you need them to. You don't have to have no crazy defense, but it sure does help, especially in the SEC. But like I said, if their offense can stay explosive like they are now, I mean, I think they'd be okay. But in the long haul, I don't know because you still got Georgia, you
Yeah.
still got and then you get to the playoffs is when it really get tricky because you seeing people that you don't normally see. So I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see. I'm interested to see how they fare because again, spring games all we have to look for. And it's kind of hard to assess who's gonna be all right or not because I mean, think about it. I mean, you're playing against your team, your guys. You can't hit the quarterback, so those sacks really don't count. Because that's to me that's really when quarterbacks start to get rattled. So when they get hit, not when they get pressured after that first big hit in the game. You take that big hit and feel like a vending machine and hit you, and then you gotta keep your head on the swivel for them. That to me is no simulation for that. Like besides actually putting these guys out there and letting them get hit, which you don't want to let your quarterback get hit. So it's hard to say what they're gonna do because I don't see that aspect. So by all means, it could be just that their offense is that good.
Yeah.
Or it could just mean that their defense is that bad. We don't
Which
know.
could I mean be either very good or very bad.
Right.
Very bad.
So I mean, only way we would know is when they lace them up come August, September. So that one was very hard for me to say because they look good.
Mm-hmm.
Spring game was very entertainment, but does that make me worried that that your defense is not that great or that strong? So that would be my only question mark outside of the linemen. What are you gonna do to answer the problems that you have on defense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think too that dude, you literally are taking my notes. It's crazy. But I did want to mention that Oklahoma was ranked 18 in the transfer portal rankings, right? And they lost 22 guys, but had 14 come in. And for everybody to kind of what it looks like is everybody just get in sync really quickly like that. It's kind of crazy to think about, like how good they potentially could be in the SEC.
Right. And it's this is the new era of transfer and everything. Before you had to get acclimated to your team, your
Right.
teammates. Chemistry was a big thing. Now it seems like players are preparing to leave. Like regardless of what situation they're in, they're preparing to leave because they're trying to see where can I get the most bang for my buck. Instead of what's the good fit. And I personally believe with Oklahoma, because they've been able to get in sync so fast, instead of getting talent, they got players that were personality fits. To meaning where there was no egos, anything like that. Okay, you're not the big name, but you fill a hole that we need, and you can fall in the line, because that's a big thing. Whenever you doing like that's what Colorado's problem. They had a lot of talent. They just had more talent than the first 3 or 4 teams they played against. You know, but when their talent gap started to become closer, that's when they started struggling. Because it wasn't no cohesiveness. It wasn't outside of Shador and the receivers. You know, it was no cohesiveness. Like that. It was more. So to me, I saw a lot of individual play. And of course, obviously the line. We know about that, but
Mhm.
I think that was their big downfall. Which is, I mean, it's the new norm. Because they lost several players this
Yeah,
year, but their core group is still there. Like the offensive line is still there. Shador is still there. We don't know who the running back is going to be because he just jumped in the transfer portal.
yeah,
You know, they still got receivers. I haven't heard about any receivers getting in the transfer portal yet. Um, so most of their big pieces are still there. So I
yeah,
mean, that would be it goes a long way when you're trying to get ready for a season because you got that cohesiveness. You know, and as far as Oklahoma, it looked like they figured it out to this point. Now in season it might look different. Because this would be that they're coming into another territory together.
right.
But again, as long as they keep that mindset of a plan, we want to make each other better, and you know all of that, I think they'd be all right. I think they'd be
Yeah,
all right.
I did wanna definitely give defensive coordinators a little, a tip or a tool for whoever may watch this podcast. I want defensive coordinators to really do me a huge solid favor this year. Locate wide receiver Dion Burks at all times. He's a Purdue transfer. If that man is on the sidelines, you better have a DB beside him. If that man is sitting in the stands, you better have a DB beside him. If that man goes to the bathroom, you better have a DB in the next stall beside him. That brother is going to absolutely destroy defensive backs this year. I mean, the way his route tree was and the way this man just finds the end zone, it's crazy. And I feel like Jackson Arnold is really they're gonna have a great connection this year. Just because of how well they played together in the spring game. But that guy right there, I was mind blown. Like every time I looked up, this guy was in the end zone. So Dion Burks is going to be an issue. An issue. So I did want to mention him. And also I don't know if you remember I don't know if you remember General Booty. General Booty is in Oklahoma now. Again, this is this man's name. Do not cancel us. Full disclaimer. So yeah, man, those were just some of the things that I really noticed from the spring game. I mean, solid team, I think,
Right,
man. I think really solid going into the
right.
SEC this year. So yeah. You got anything else? You good on Oklahoma?
No, yeah, that was
Okay.
it. That was
All
it.
right. Well, let's head over to Tallahassee, brother. Florida State. Yeah.
The thing they
Yeah.
got going
I
for
know.
them,
I know.
what they got going for them is they're in the ACC. So right now, there's not a lot of noise coming from the ACC.
Yeah.
Just being honest, call it
Hmm.
like I see it. It's not a lot of, what I'm saying? It's Florida State versus everybody else. You know,
Yeah.
uh, DJ Youth.
Yeah.
He
Smart. Smart.
he played decently in my opinion. He didn't play like a
All right. We got you. Come on back. Come on back. Come on back. We still here. Come on back. All right, y'all. We having a little technical difficulties, but to Stax's point, he was stating that DJ Uyunglele definitely played to his it was to his expertise. I mean, again, a 3-year guy who started at Oklahoma. I mean, I'm sorry, at Clemson, then transferred over to Oregon State. But I mean, it just wasn't himself. Let's see if we can invite Stackz back real quick, y'all. Sorry about that. Or he may try to join back in. But I'm sorry. Anyway, but yeah, DJU 3-year guy just didn't it just didn't seem that he could find his rhythm going into Florida State. And a lot of people really challenged why he transferred from Oregon State, right? I think with that, it definitely came a lot of, maybe personal issues that he just really wanted to get out of Oregon State, but we'll just never know. But yeah, to his credit, it definitely was a questionable performance from him from the spring game. But also, I did want to also add that, of course, DJ is now playing in for Jordan Travis, who just uh well, not just announced, but he's going into the NFL draft as an NFL prospect. So big congratulations to him. Hopefully he does end up getting drafted. I think he's like the number 10 prospect quarterback for the NFL draft. But yeah, I mean, it just did not. I can't say a lot about this Florida State team this year. Just it was a cut and dry spring game. Nothing too exciting. Nothing too big. Listen, hey brother, I was I was holding it down for you, man. I kept talking. Listen, they were gonna hear me talk until you came back, so I didn't stop the recording. But I was pretty much finishing up what you were stating about DJ Uyunglele as far as just his play skill from. I mean his performance from the spring game.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm gonna let you go ahead and finish, but I kind of added
No,
a
you
little
good.
bit.
You good. You good.
Yeah.
No, but what I was saying was DJU. He did not show me somebody that's been in different situations already. Like he's played in the ACC already at Clemson. He's played at what's the school that he just came?
Oregon State.
Oregon State. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
why I want to say Maryland, but Oregon State.
That was his brother,
Uh, oh, okay.
his younger brother. Yeah.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay. But yeah, he didn't show me that. Like for instance, like Bo Nix when he got to Oregon,
Mm-hmm.
completely different. He was able to use the experience he's had with others, you know, with his other years and put it all together. For his last 2 years. DJU, I haven't seen that quite yet to this point. Not saying that he won't get there, not saying he's terrible, none of that. It just was a lot of questionable throws that I saw that a veteran shouldn't be making. You know. But again, also, it's a spring game. You can't you can't really scramble. You can't really, show all your abilities and everything like that. But he played okay. It just wasn't what I would expect from someone that's had the experience that he's had. So, but in his defense, he went from being bottom of the ACC, now he's at the top because of the team. Running back wise, Florida State is in good hands. The running back is phenomenal.
Yeah,
Um,
transfer from Alabama.
he is a beast.
Yeah.
I like it. That was the highlight for me. The
Mhm.
receivers were okay. I think that they were good. They high pointed a lot of balls and you know went up with that for those 50-50 balls and things like that. But yeah, I mean nothing that really stuck off the paper to me was like they're gonna be scary. Nah,
Yeah.
it's just kind of like we'll see what happens during the
Yeah.
season. You know.
And it just like I stated while you were, it was just like a cut and dry game. I mean, there was nothing that really caught the attention of mine. And I mean, again, like Florida State lost a lot of guys like Trey Benson, Keon Coleman, Jordan
Right.
Travis, all to the draft. And I mean, these guys were really key to this Florida State team. Going undefeated. So I can't really say a lot going into the new season for Florida State. I mean, it's really just like nothing there to really marvel about. I mean, you know,
Okay,
I'm
man.
sorry.
Are they worse off than Tennessee? right now to this
Possibly.
point.
Possibly.
I I
Maybe.
I was hoping you say that because I
Yeah.
think that they're worse off than Tennessee right
Yeah.
now. As at this point,
Mm-hmm.
at this point, not saying that they will be, but at this
Yeah.
point, to me, Tennessee looks a step above
Yeah.
them, in my
100%.
opinion. Um, that's just me. You know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, could they be? Could the roles reverse? As the season unfolds and stuff like that, of course. But
Mm-hmm.
as of right now, going off what I got to go off of, which is the spring game, I like Tennessee over Florida State right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I wanted to. I definitely wanted to challenge you and ask you. Could a revenge tour even come out of this? And I mean, honestly, my answer right now is no.
No, well, I mean, a lot of those players are not there anymore.
Yeah.
So the pride of a revenge tour will be obsolete because those
Mm-hmm.
players are not there anymore. Like with any team that has a revenge tour, most of the players come back.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan, most of the players came back, won a championship. Georgia, most of the players came back, won a championship. Like if you don't have those core guys from the year that the hurt started, you're not gonna. Nobody's gonna buy into the revenge tour type of thing. That because they weren't there for it. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, now now everybody's trying to prove their name. You know, so I mean, you would want a revenge tour. I would hope that that's what they would be going for. Now I will say their defensive line is stacked.
Mm-hmm.
The defensive line is good. Um, they play very well. That was the high
Yeah.
point. Beside the running back play, to me, their defensive line was really good.
Yeah, and I really think we can credit that to Braden Fisk, who's also going into the draft as well. Like I think they really leaned on him a lot, going into the draft. I think he's like the fourth overall prospect within his position, or could even be for the entire draft. But that's neither here nor less. But yeah, man, like I think that's really like the key thing coming out of the this Florida State team is maybe their defense is really gonna turn heads, to possibly get some productivity going within that offense. But again, man, it's not really a lot to say about this
Yeah,
Florida
I
State
mean,
team.
you want to go out on a revenge tour.
Hmm.
Because a lot of people was like, well, you didn't have all your starters, but neither did Georgia in that game. But
Yeah.
I'm like, let's be honest. Your 5 stars are your starters. Like,
Hmm.
let's be real. Georgia's 5 stars, starters, backups, and third strings. Like, I mean, let's be clear. Like, that's the talent gap is there. But I mean, I'm not saying that they would have changed the outcome of the game or anything like that, but I definitely think it would have made it more competitive. You know, so um, those players are not there anymore. Like a lot of them are not there, and the ones that are possibly still there don't have the experience. So I mean, you got a lot of that. I mean, I think that's what happened to Georgia last year. Even though they only lost the one game, I think that's where they fell out outside of injuries and stuff. I think um, a lot of those veterans weren't there, in the way that the veterans of the championship teams were. You know, Players might have been on those teams, but as far as being leader, on defense or offense, you gotta have a guy step up and say, hey, we ain't folding. We this is what we do. Like for Georgia, that first year was Kobe Dean. You know, then the second year it was Nolan Smith. Even though he wasn't on the field for a lot of it, his presence was felt because he was on the sideline every game. You know what I'm saying? He's preaching it to them. So I think this past year, even Kirby Smart said it like, these guys feel like they got a championship already, so they're not gonna they don't put forth the effort that we're looking for. Florida State, a lot of those players weren't in the position to get that hate that they felt last year, so it might not be the same. Now, had a lot of those players stayed, I think that heck yeah, we could be talking revenge tour. You know, and I would be a lot more excited about Florida State, but right
Hmm.
now, I just don't see it. I just don't see
Yeah.
it. I just don't
Yeah.
see it. I don't see the grit. Like
Hmm.
only two places I see it from is the defensive line and the running back. I'm just
Yeah.
being honest. You know, but again. Season starts might be a different story. Again, they have the ACC as their schedule, so the hardest games that they're gonna probably have is be like Clemson, and Clemson has not been Clemson of old, and
Mm-hmm.
the teams that they're gonna play against, they should beat, no problem. The only struggle I would think they would have will be in the conference championship, possibly, and then after that it would just be the playoffs. So you just gotta stay healthy and not make the big mistake. And I
Yeah.
think that Florida State will be in the picture. But as far as being dominant outside of the conference, I don't see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair, brother. That's just how the cookie crumbles, as they say. And I mean, you hate to see it, especially after the season and the run that they had last year. But unfortunately, losing Jordan Travis kind of shifted a lot of that, just with his injury. So, um, but yeah, man, you hate to see it, but again, this is college football, and again, it's a business. So
That's how it goes. That's how
yeah.
it goes. Like you said, you gotta refuel. You gotta refuel your
Hmm.
team. But
Yeah.
whatever that looks like. But that also, what I'm saying, entails just realizing that you're a different team.
Hmm.
Like, like prime example, like that second Georgia team that won it, they were a completely different team than the first one. You know, uh, almost lost. You know, but they overcame adversity. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it just happens. Like I mean, that's to me, when you lose a lot of players, that shows how good your coaches are. Because if you can replenish after losing a lot of your players and your team is doing good, or you can take a player that was just right there on the cusp of being something special and take them that much further, that to me shows me that you're a great coach. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Saban. Like he had how many players that we see Saban take that were just right there,
Yeah.
you know, you know, eh, getting certain personalities and putting them together. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like everybody that I've seen that's went to Bama is proud that they went to Bama.
Hmm.
Same thing with Georgia. I mean,
Yeah.
so, and I think that those coaches instilled that in them. Like, yo, you do this for what's on the front of your shirt, the name on the back of your jersey, and the person to the right and the left of you. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Those type of players. You know, so I mean, I don't know if Florida State has that yet, but they could potentially get there. I mean,
We'll see. Hey, and I mean, this is really just a preview of what's to come for these teams that we're really getting a chance to really spotlight right now. So only time will tell, man. I think that's really what all this boils down to, is just really what can change from now to August or September, when the season starts. And you just gotta kind of just play it by ear. So
right.
yeah, so I think that's a perfect place to close. And yeah, man. So hey, good luck to the teams that we featured today on the College Couch. And also thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the College Couch Podcast. Again, we always truly appreciate you guys for hanging out and spending some time with us. Continue to subscribe and follow us on all social media platforms. Just hey, listen, if you guys see something, say something, as they say. So let us know, and we want to just be able to feature and push this platform and this brand as much as we possibly can. So yeah, thank y'all, thank y'all, thank y'all. Much love as always. Stackz, my brother, take us home.
Hey man, we appreciate y'all tuning in, man. It's been another beautiful episode of the College Couch Podcast with Javaris Harris and Stackz Dale Bridge. You know how we do it, man. You liking here, you here now, you're a fan of college football, we're a fan of you. Hey, go tell your friend, tell their cousin, tell their sister, tell their uncle, auntie, them. Go tap into the College Couch. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Y'all got players y'all want us to cover that might not be getting the coverage. Let us know. We would love to dive in and, talk about them, get them the shine that they need. Any sports you want us to talk about. I know right now we talking a lot of football because that's what our fan base is right now. And we talk basketball. Whatever it is, softball, don't matter. we'll check into it as long as it's college sports. We appreciate y'all, but hey, we gotta get out of here. We got bills to pay. We'll holler at y'all. Wake up, I gotta go get it. Wake up, I gotta